Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare
So, Hare Krishna, everybody. Good morning. I hope I will start it again. Okay, good. I thought to wait a little bit for more devotees to be online, but we don't want also to wait too long. So we are ready to start. First of all, it's my first lesson with all of you, and I'm very grateful and honored to be part of the teachers of this Bhakta course. And during the session, if you have any question, you can also ask them while the session is going. You don't need to wait for the end. You can just, if you go down, you can raise the hand on the Zoom program. And so if you have any question as we go through, you can just raise the hand and we will address them directly. And I will also anyway leave some times open for question at the end. I will try to make the sessions as interactive as possible. So sometimes I will ask you to read some of the things. I will have PowerPoints for the thema that I'm teaching. So I will ask you 10 times one or the other to read what is coming up on the screen. Yeah, like this. So I will start by sharing the screen, and from time to time I will unshare the screen, and we can have discussions also. So let me just start by sharing here. So today's topic is faith doesn't make sense, it makes miracle, which is actually a very very beautiful. Faith is something very mysterious, because we cannot prove it fully, but it's actually existing, and this is actually the ground of spiritual progress. This is the ground of the spiritual journey. This is the basis from where we start on our spiritual journey. So this is the topic. Today we cover faith and the existence of God. And we will start with the part of faith first. So we will have here definition of faith, and maybe we can already start by asking Judge Valia Prabhu, if you could kindly read this, what is coming up on the screen. Do you see something? Is the screen shared? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. You like to read the definition of faith?
Faith and the existence of God. Definition of faith. Faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. Bhagavad Gita 2.41.
Okay, and the next one?
By rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. This confident, firm faith, favorable to the discharge of devotional service, is called Shraddha.
Okay, thank you.
Chaitanya Charitamrita 22.62.
Okay, thank you. So this is for the definition of faith. Now we will see about the importance of faith. How important is faith for us? And maybe we can ask Bhakti Nivon, if you like to read this one. And maybe Judge Valia Prabhu, you can mute yourself again, and Yvonne, you can unmute.
Importance of faith. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed.
Thank you. And the next one.
A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace.
Thank you. So here it's a little bit interesting or important. We get 3 different items that are necessary for us to achieve such a knowledge. And one is to be faithful, to have faith. The other one is to dedicate ourselves to transcendental knowledge. That means we will read, we will study, we will absorb ourselves into this transcendental knowledge. And the third one is that subdue, one is controlling the senses, let's say like this, is not indulging in, let's say, sinful activities, and yeah, he has some control over his senses. Okay, so we will go to the next one, which will be about the dangers of doubt. Maybe we can ask Bhakta Chirag to read this one.
Dangers of doubts. Those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of enemies. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in this material world. PG 9.3. But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. They fall down. For doubting the soul, for the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. PG 4.40.
Thank you. So here we have the dangers. For the one who is doubting, there is no happiness available, and one cannot attain Krishna, and he will just go back in the cycle of birth and death. Yeah, and the one who has doubt, he is not attaining God consciousness. So that shows us that we have to get rid of doubt as soon as possible. And now we will see, are doubts useful? So here we come into a paradox, because first we hear that doubts are not good, and when we have doubts we will have misery all the time and will not reach God. But now we bring the other side. Can doubts be useful? And maybe we can ask Harika and Sudhir, if maybe you can read this slide.
Yes, Prabhuji. Doubting is a function of intelligence.
Okay.
Nothing should be accepted blindly. Everything should be accepted with care and with caution.
Thank you. And the last one?
Before surrendering, one is free to deliberate on this subject as far as intelligence goes. That is the best way to accept the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such instruction comes also through the spiritual master, the bona fide representative of Krishna.
Good. So here we see the other side, that doubts can actually be useful. We have a quote from Bhagavatam that said that actually doubting is a function of the intelligence, which can be actually good. And then we have in the purport of 10.4.5 Prabhupada saying that one should not accept blindly everything, but everything should be accepted with care and caution. That's also very nice. And the last quote, actually, I think it's also a purport where Prabhupada said we should deliberate on the subject as far as the intelligence is able to go, and that's the best way to accept the instruction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Spiritual Master. So here we have two paradoxes. In one sense, we should not have doubts, we should have full faith, and in the other sense, doubts can be useful. And now we can, how you say, bring the two together. It's like a crossroad between faith and between reasoning, using our intelligence and faith. So how the two goes together, and an easy way to actually deal with this paradox is that in one side we can have this blind faith should be invested in the scriptures and absolute consideration. Like they are absolute consideration, and they are consideration that are not absolute, that will change about situation in life. So whatever is in the absolute realm, this is something we will accept fully. And the scriptures, we want to actually develop this faith in the scripture, in the spiritual master, and there we should learn to develop this full faith into this area, or let's say the spiritual part of the absolute realm. There we want to develop this faith, and the reasonable faith. This we can work, or we can use on how we apply. What is the application of the Shastra? How do we apply the instruction of the spiritual master? Then we will need to use reasoning and just make sure it makes sense and that we can do it in a proper way. Good. Then here we will come now to different considerations, and maybe we could ask Rahul Prabhu if you would like to read the next one.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
As we grow in devotional service, our faith is becoming stronger. Still, faith is the foundation. One need to cultivate his faith, otherwise it gets lost. When great doubts arise, deal with them rapidly. Small ones can wait.
Okay, thank you. So as we grow in devotional service, our faith is becoming stronger. I think most of you must be aware of the different stages of devotional service that are mentioned in the scripture, that we start with faith, and then we associate with devotees, sadhu sangha, then we start to practice spiritual life, bhajana kriya, then the anarthas in the heart are removed, the obstacles of the heart are removed, and then we progress further. So shraddha, or faith, is actually the foundation. It's actually the most important, because on this foundation of the faith that we have, we can actually build up. I think you all know, if we want to build a building but the foundation is not strong, there is a lot of chance that the building will fall later. So therefore this faith is actually very important. It's the foundation for us, and as we make spiritual progress, this faith will become stronger and stronger. Now we need to cultivate his faith, otherwise it gets lost. And I would like to share with you a little experience connected to my mother, my good mother. She's actually a pious person, and now she's actually going, she has, she's in old age home, and she has Alzheimer sickness, where you are slowly losing your memory. But she's still, we can still have discussion with her, and so I call her from time to time, and she used to bring me always in the church when I was small, and she has some faith, but not so strong. And I was asking her, can you pray? Can you pray to the Lord in the situation where you are going and like this? And she was saying, no, sorry, I just cannot pray. And I noticed that her faith, her initial faith that was in the heart, did not got to be nourished during all the years up to the stage where she is now. And because this lack of nourishment, the initial faith that was inside is actually almost lost. It's just not available. It's not reachable for her. So for me, it was important to see that our faith in Krishna consciousness is something that we need to nourish at all the stage of our spiritual life, so that it becomes really strong and will never leave us in any time. There is one, I think is the god brother of Srila Prabhupada, Sridhar Swami, who was very knew the Shastra very, very paka. I mean, he knew so many verses, he had amazing knowledge. But at the time when he came close to leaving his body, he was also losing knowledge, or not knowledge, the memory, let's say like this. And he was saying, I'm coming to the end of my life. I have forgotten most of the verse I knew, but the only thing that remain is my faith in Krishna. So this shows how important is this faith and how important is actually to cultivate it through the journey of Krishna consciousness. And then the last point, that when great doubt arise, we should deal with them rapidly, because dates are sometimes compared to some demons. And if you have some doubts in the mind, it might start to work against Krishna consciousness if you don't deal with them. Therefore, it's important when doubts come, if they are like important doubt, to not let the demon in the mind grow and grow and grow, and then you start to think, okay, maybe this Krishna consciousness is not so good, and then you are slowly removed. So when those big doubts or important doubts are there, it's very important to deal with them quickly, especially by association with devotees who are more advanced than us, and addressing those doubts. And there is an area called Maya in our mind, where our mind is influenced by the external energy. But very often when we share a topic that where Maya is actually on our case with other devotees, then it has a very powerful effect that the Maya is very quickly released when we enter into this revealing of the heart with a devotee whom we can trust and who can understand us. So when those doubts come, like say serious doubts about the process, about Krishna, it's very important to deal with them and ask devotee for help. Now there are small doubts that can come, and those ones are less important. Sometimes those ones are a little bit like, let's say, innocent doubts. Like, for example, in the scripture, we will read that in the past, mountains had wings, and the mountains will fly from here to there. But then there was a problem with Indra, who cut it off the wings of all the mountains, and now they cannot fly anymore. So things like this, when we read it, especially if you are not from Indian background, it's maybe a little bit difficult to swallow, and one might get some doubts, is that really possible? And so this type of small doubts are less important. It's still nice to ask devotee for clarification of how to understand those things. But I noticed myself, as I was learning Bhagavad Gita, as I was progressing on the path, there are many things in the beginning I really could not understand. Sometimes even things I could not accept. I felt that's too much. I'm sorry, but that's too much for me. But I just left those type of small doubts on the parking place, and then as the years were passing, and as I will make progress in spiritual life, I could see how actually those doubts were actually getting solved by themselves, because of becoming more pure in my heart, of becoming or receiving the knowledge of Krishna consciousness in a deeper way. Then suddenly I could understand things that I was not understanding in the beginning. So more or less, the small innocent doubts, we can leave them on the parking place. But what is a little bit more strong, or that is bothering you, then those one is good to actually deal with them quite quick. Okay, so we will go to this. We continue the journey, and maybe we will ask Nikita and Raghav to be our reader. I mean, here is not much to read, but actually I will ask you to read for the next one. Next one will be a little bit more. This one is how to develop faith and destroy doubts.
So yeah, association with the faithful devotees. Cleaning the heart of all material dirt, they create doubts by the practice of Krishna consciousness. Follow the process and having spiritual experiences. Example, jar of honey. Take shelter of Krishna with prayers and submissions. Cultivate knowledge and destroy ignorance by studies and inquiries. One who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his actions, and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, is situated factually in the self. Thus, he is not bound by the reactions of work. O conqueror of riches, Bhagavad Gita 4.41.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So here you have a good range of way you can actually cultivate faith and develop faith. And the first one, association with faithful devotee. When you are with devotee who have very strong faith, just being with them, you will feel yes, everything makes sense. You will be, it will be very easy for you to develop this faith. So cleaning the heart of all material doubts, all material dirt, actually, as more as the mirror of the mind or the heart is actually covered by impurity, as more it is easy to have doubts. But as more as the heart gets cleaned, as more the doubt gets removed. Having spiritual experience, this is a very, very, very strong point. As you progress on spiritual life, you will have time when you feel reciprocation of Krishna, where you feel touched deeply by the process, by the chanting or by some reading sessions, and you can feel Krishna's presence in your life. So those moments are building up faith. And those moments are actually very important. One devotee told me once that those moments when Krishna reciprocates in our life, we should collect them like flowers, and we should string them and make a garland of all those experiences that we have in our spiritual life, and then we should wear this garland all the time, meaning we should all the time remember all those experiences, all those times of reciprocation in our life. So this is like very powerful to build up our faith. Take shelter with prayer and submission. When doubts are harassing you, you can ask devotee for help, but you can also enter deeply into prayer, understanding I have not much ability to understand, please Krishna help me. And the last one is actually in the opposite of doubts is knowledge. And by cultivating knowledge and by studying and reading nicely the books of Srila Prabhupada, this by itself will actually destroy ignorance and increase our faith. So again, it's interesting in the slide, I think 2, there was this point that to develop faith, you need, to understand transcendental knowledge, you need to have some faith, you need to cultivate that knowledge, and you need to control the senses. And now here, there is something renouncing the fruit of his action, which is actually very much also like a control of the senses coming. So this is also second time coming up. Okay, so now that's more or less okay, super. We have a hand up, and also this is more or less the end of the first section. So I will stop sharing the screen for a while, and maybe we can have a little time for questions and discussion on the topic. And I will first ask Rahul to please ask us the...
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Not sure if we can, we have time to really talk about this question, but just may I ask you, because the faith is really foundational, before we could progress, or if we can advance on the spiritual path. Because if our faith is a little bit shaky, then either we don't make progress, or even if we are doing it, it's just more like a mechanical thing we do it. So maybe would you like to share your realization about, because you said like your mother was pious, she was taking you to church, so you did have a faith in God, but I would say like changing the faith from say Christ to Krishna. I mean, how did you deal with that? Because it's not a easy change, right?
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. I think it's important to make a little distinction between actually pious life or being pious, or actually starting to walk on the spiritual journey, which we cannot really separate both of them, because you need a certain amount of piety to start a spiritual journey. But you can just nourish piety and not really start to develop your relationship with God. And I remember my mother would take me in the church, and I would not understand much, and I would not have much interest. I mean, usually I was just like turbulent into I remember the neighbor who were always having some candy to give me, so that they were saying, if you stay peaceful, we give you candy, things like this. So there was not like really much, but I remember there was some type of feelings, there was some type of attraction for spirituality. So even though I was going into the church, sometimes I felt attracted to go. Sometimes I would even go alone. When I was around 8 years old, my parents, sometimes they would sleep on Sunday morning, and I was awake, and I was just going to the church that was close to our house. So some attraction was building up, even though not much knowledge was there. Then later, when I came connected to Krishna consciousness, and especially the philosophy who was explaining who we are, what we are meant to do, and things like this, then resonated, and then I could actually slowly start to build up on the basic things that was there. And I think as much as we build up, as much this faith becomes strong. And then, like in the case of Sridas Swami, even if memory is lost, the faith is just so strong that this will remain forever in our heart. Is that answering the question?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So let's see if some other of you will have questions, or yeah.
There was one point, a jar of honey example in the last slide. So what is that? Your spiritual experiences and example, the jar of honey. So
Yeah. So sometimes this jar of honey example is coming, that if you have a jar of honey, but you have to open the jar to get the honey. If you just try to lick the jar, you will actually not feel much sweetness. It will be quite dry. So this is an example that is given, that in Krishna consciousness, we need the opening of the jar is actually going into the motion, going into the practice, and trying our best, and then we will get some of the reciprocation of the Lord. And those are the spiritual experience that give us strength and build up and nourish this foundation of faith. And this is mainly coming from the time we start to do some practice, some sadhana, or we understand, okay, we are servant of the Lord, so let me now broom the temple, or let me serve the Vaishnavas, or like this. As soon as we start practically to do some activities, then we are opening the jar to actually get some sweetness and get some reciprocation, which will further build up stronger our faith. And as the faith gets strong, as strong you become into the practice, as strong as the other stage of Krishna consciousness become powerful. And it's faith is always there, even if you go to the next level. Actually, as you go to the next level, faith becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. Like for a tree to go higher, it needs to make deeper roots, deeper foundation. So as we go higher, faith is supposed to become stronger and stronger. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Roger.
we have actually quite some time. My presentation is not so long. So in case something else is there, please don't hesitate. Otherwise, I will ask you a question. Aha.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thanks for letting us know the basic building block of bhakti, which is faith. Yes, Prabhuji. So for beginners, they can't just they will visit some temples on and when, and they will not start the Prabhupada books as well. For them, how to build up their faith for beginners, like spending very less time, because they won't spend much time in devotional service and all. Like so such some two aspects. So how to because they see the people, they believe okay there is Krishna consciousness, but they cannot advance because of not strong firm faith. So how to develop faith for beginners, like
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I remember myself when I was living quite far away from the temple. I needed like around 3 hours drive to go to the temple, and I would go once a month or twice a month. But I could see after staying in the temple for the full Sunday feast, when I will come out of the temple, I will feel, wow, I'm a different person. Already there, even though I did not have like a strong faith, it was the totally beginning, but I could notice something is happening to me. I'm different after when I come out of the temple that when I was in. So more or less is actually the association. If you have persons like this around, if you can help them or inspire them to come regularly to the temple, and also by the association, by you giving them some good association, that will be the strongest way to help their faith to go deeper. I'm following a preaching seminar from the School of Bhakti, where Golokadam is affiliated to the School of Bhakti from London, who have very, very powerful and very structured way of teaching Krishna consciousness, and also very much for totally new people. And we have now a teacher training course with them, and we were sharing with the other students how they came in Krishna consciousness. And on 6 or 7 cases of devotee who explained, all of them was connected to association with devotees. So this is actually the strongest way we can help them, by giving them some good association, being bold of inviting them to come to the temple, inviting them at home to take prasad, showing them our altar, and speaking about Mahabharata or sharing some of our experience. This Sangha is what is the most powerful. Now, it's not that everyone can catch Krishna consciousness. Some might not be ready yet. Some might not have enough pious credit to really go in, but whatever they get is forever. Whatever they get will be helping them. And there was also, I take this opportunity to share, there was, for preaching to be successful, you need purity of the preacher, you need purity of the listener, and you need the mercy of the Lord. And often the purity of the preacher is maybe not so extraordinary, and the purity of the listener is maybe also not so. So the mercy of the Lord is actually what will make up for the things. But especially if you have in the heart a real desire for this person to become a devotee, or that the faith will grow, and you pray to the Lord sincerely, He will help you to find a way to help that person to make his faith stronger.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice points. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So, one thing I would like to add, because there was these slides in the beginning, and often Prabhupada actually mentioned like this, that faith is that we have the faith that by the activities of Krishna consciousness, everything else will be solved. That we actually do not need to try to solve everything in our life, but if we go to the root and practice sincerely Krishna consciousness, everything will become solved by itself. This is like this type of faith that Prabhupada mentioned a few times in the scriptures. And the question I would like to ask you now is, in the base of that one, and actually I can even read the quote itself because it was the second one: by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. So you do loving devotional service to Krishna, and everything else is performed. So how do you deal with such a statement? Does it mean that we need to quit our job and quit our families and just chant and do service? Or how do you understand this quotation? Okay. Okay, Mataji.
Yeah. I want to share my experience after I start my after starting practicing Krishna consciousness. So basically, as a Grihastha life, we are in Grihastha life. So by keeping, we are continuing everything just by as usual, normal, all the activities, but we are keeping Krishna in the center, like eating daily activities we do, but we are taking prasad like that. So this is like it's a devotional service, kind of devotional, I mean, serving the Lord, and also we are doing our duties in a proper way, rather than initially it was like not so good, but it is with perfection most of the duties what we do. And also there is so much improvement in the discipline wise and punctuality wise, and also time management. Especially I learned so much in time management after starting Krishna consciousness. Yes, Prabhuji. So it is so helpful to start and purify we can purify ourselves. So much purification will be there, and especially peace and no fear of for the future. Yeah. So these are all my experiences.
Thank you, Mataji. Bhakta Chirag, what was your answer to that question?
It was a similar answer.
Similar answer. Okay. Yeah, it's actually quite obvious, but actually we need to be engaged in this world according to our position, and because we are not fully pure self-realized soul at the moment, then we need to engage our propensity, our abilities. We need to work. We need to do activities in this world, but we will do it connected to Krishna consciousness. We will transform all those activities into devotional service, and then we are in the right position. One small things I would like to bring into that is during our spiritual practice, and especially during the practice of japa chanting, or practice of kirtan, or practice of reading, and especially in bhajan, you might have noticed that often our mind is going into planning. I will, today I need to do this, I need to do that, or how will I deal with this, how will I deal with that. So there is actually a very nice time to develop to work on this faith in our heart, and praying to Krishna. I trust that if now I fully give myself to you, to the holy name, I trust later on you will give me all the intelligence I need to deal with the activities of my day. So now I develop this trust in you, my Lord, by stopping to plan and to manage during japa. But during japa, I just offer myself fully to you, and I want to develop this trust. You will be there later to help me, to give me remembrance, to empower me into my activities. So, for example, during japa, it's a very good time to work of letting go of everything else and just depending on the Lord, and knowing He will take care of all anxieties, all the worries of how we have to do things in the life. So this is actually very nice time we can learn to develop our faith. Krishna, I'm sure you will help me later on, but now I focus on the chanting. It might be also that sometimes as we chant, we come to some level of absorption, which is sometimes called clearing stage. And it might happen that sometimes we have like a vision of something or a service that we need to do, or how something could be done, or something like this. So if something good come, it's good to take it, but maybe you just take a little note, write it down. At the end of the round, you just make a little break, you write it down, and then you go back to the chanting. So that's where some thoughts about application during chanting of this quote of focusing on devotional service, and then everything will be organized properly. Good. Then we will, if there is no further questions, we can go to the second part of this workshop, which is a little shorter, and this is about the existence of God. I guess most of you must have already some original faith, and most probably have faith in God or in Krishna. So here the question will be maybe to help you, to give you some arguments or some thoughts if you are in discussion with someone who do not believe in God at all, or who might say, oh, God do not exist at all. So Prabhupada was often saying that we need to read and study his book so that we can be equipped to actually counteract nescience, counteract atheism by the knowledge of Krishna consciousness. So here we will explore a little bit different questions that can be asked to you, and I will ask you actually I will ask some of you to try to answer the question, and we will see a little bit what type of argument can be given and how we can actually back up Krishna. We are actually on the side of Krishna, and if some people are speaking bad of him, we want to be able to back him up. There is actually a beautiful quote from Prabhupada where he said that it's very easy to become a friend with Krishna, and he said you can become a friend with Krishna by defending Krishna. When someone is not speaking good about God, then you just defend God, and God will say, oh, sure, he is my friend. He is my friend. I remember a big discussion I had once with a man. I was in the army, in the Swiss army at that time, and I was becoming a devotee, and I had 1 hour of debate with another man of the army who did not believe in God. And I remember after that, I felt so blissful. I felt so happy in my heart, and I could feel Krishna was happy. I had given my best to defend him against atheism. So I will share the screen again, and then we will see some of I will ask some of you to answer those questions. So the existence of God. Why is there so much suffering in this world if God is kind? Which that's a question that comes quite regularly. And I will ask Deepali, what will you answer to this question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Prabhuji, as I don't have too much knowledge, but I can say suffering because of some past karmic accounts.
That means that the suffering are not given by God himself, but they are the result of our activities. We cannot blame him. Huh? We cannot blame him. It's the result of our activities. Okay? Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Would someone have something else to answer this question?
Yeah. So, yeah, Prabhuji, yeah, because of our propensity to enjoy from what the Lord desires from us to do in the spiritual injunctions, and we try to enjoy against those things, and then we have to suffer. Yeah.
Okay. So you say there is so much suffering in this world because we try to enjoy this world?
Yes, I mean, against the principles of the Lord, what Lord desires, so we try to enjoy away from Him, and we have to suffer.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yes?
Just wanted to add to this point that this material world is the Khalayam. So, and we come here to enjoy independently from Krishna. So,
Okay, okay. So yeah, that's a good answer. It's good to mention that it's when we try to enjoy separately from Krishna that then the suffering is not that people think, oh, God made this world just that we don't enjoy because everyone wants to enjoy. We all have this enjoying propensity, but we can do it according to the rules of Krishna, and then we get cleared from many of the sufferings. But still, are you suffering? Are you suffering? You follow Krishna? Are you suffering? Why is Krishna making you suffer? If you are following him, why you suffer? What would you answer to that?
Our surrender level is not that high, so that's why, I mean, because of our past karma, so we have reactions from that, and then we are still suffering a bit.
Okay. Okay, and like Mataji was also saying, and that's also another very valuable point in the scripture, it will be written that this material world, it's a world of duality. It's a world where we anyway have to suffer. That's just the law of this world. Even a pure devotee will have suffering coming to him. He will not be affected by them, but this is nature of this world, and no one has the power to change that, to change the material world, which is actually a very powerful argument. That's yeah. Okay, thank you. Will someone else have something else on this question?
Yes, Prabhuji,
Prabhu?
just go ahead, Jajula.
Yes.
Yeah. So in same context, is it so that Krishna want us to suffer because he want to test and to make the determination strong, or a willingness to make strong to go back to Godhead?
Very good. Thank you. That's a very good one. Actually, for spiritual persons, those suffering will be an impetus to actually walk toward this the spiritual world where there is actually no suffering. So that will be an impetus, and this is also like a waking call. The whole world is actually bathing into Maya, into illusory energy. And when sufferings are there, it helps actually the living entity to think deeper of what is actually the goal of this life. So it will be like waking up call for us to understand there is something higher, something different to find. Thank you. And I think we had also Rahul Prabhu who wanted to say something.
No, yeah, on the same line, because often we get an argument if God is really kind. Yeah. So for sure, God is kind in the sense, I mean, there are some, I would say, like rules set in the material world. Yeah. So there are, of course, the karmic reactions. So if somebody like does some pious activities or something, at some point in time, he gets a proportionate positive result of that. And in the same way, when we indulge into something not so positive, then of course, like we also get a credit of the negative reaction of that. So we are really bound by these karmic reactions. So that way, God is kind, and I mean, God is not unfair. Yeah. Sometimes it is seen that okay, somebody like is not doing good, but still he gets positive reactions, maybe because of the carry forward from the last life. Because we always often focus only on the current life, and we don't see that it's actually the journey of the soul through multiple lives, and that past baggage is always carried forward with us.
Yeah. Thank you. We see also another perspective. If we see the example of the Pandavas, who were actually having so many tribulations, and Krishna was their friends. Krishna was there in their life. So why did he let all that happen in that way? And one perspective or one understanding is Krishna wanted his devotees to be glorified. And when you see how the devotees go through suffering and through difficulties, it becomes actually an example for the entire world. And at the same time, it becomes something, a possibility to glorify those devotees. Like even if Prabhupada would not have coming to the West, he would not have had difficulties or struggles in what he was doing, would not have been praising him as much as seeing him having those heart attacks, fighting for the Bombay temple, and like this. All that was actually making Prabhupada even more great and even more appreciated by us and by the world, seeing all what he was doing. So sometimes those difficulties in the life of a devotee are there actually to, Krishna wants the devotee to be glorified, and therefore the devotees sometimes go through heavy suffering so that they can teach the world and they can be glorified by the other devotees, and God wants them to be appreciated and glorified. Good. So we will go to the next question. Let me see. Okay. Let me see who did not speak yet. But I think we all... Yeah, we are actually not such a big group today. So let me see. Who of you will be happy with this, answering this one? Can you give a proof that God exists? Jai Valya Prabhu has a proof.
Yeah. So in material world, everything is someone created. For example, a car. A car is not get introduced automatically. There is someone who have crafted, designed, manufactured. Same like that, such a beautiful earth which have so much perfect coordination, timing, trees, flowers, animals, river, mountains. So this should not be come automatically. There should be some creator who have so much thought behind all these things. So that's, and it is around everywhere. So we don't have to go anywhere to see the existence of these things. So these things are present. So there should be some creator of this, and that is God.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you. There was actually once this question, Prabhupada was asking this question to his disciples: what is the proof that God exists? And devotees were trying to quote from Bhagavad Gita, verse that Krishna said, I am the supreme, I am the cause of everything. But Prabhupada was not satisfied and kept asking, what is the proof that God exists? And one devotee, one disciple raised his hands and he said, Prabhupada, I know that God exists because I can feel him. I can feel him. And Prabhupada said, yes, this is the proof that God exists, because you can feel him. You can feel him. The answer you gave is also extremely good, very, very good. I just remember that one, so I also give into this perspective. Anyone else would like to add something on this question? Actually, it's quite simple. So let's go to the next question. You believe in God because it is a psychological need of weak people. So, Chirag, what do you answer to that?
It can be like I asked you when we met during Narsim Chaturdashi. I asked this question, like, why is there a people who need protection? Only those who come to God, or and you told me that yes, in the beginning, some people might come to God in the need of psychological need, or they are suffering from in this material world, but but gradually they will have a loving relationship with God if they continue with this process.
Yeah.
So it might be true that in the beginning, like, people come in the need uh, for a psychological needs to the God.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's good answer. I was once traveling by train, and I was dressed as devotee, and someone in the train told me, "Oh, you believe in God because you need shelter." And I say, yes, it's true. and I say, it's true, but everyone needs shelter. Everyone is weak, actually. Everyone needs shelter. And then it's up to you to decide where you get your shelter. Will you get shelter by taking intoxication, going in the cinema and trying to hide your life or escape your life? Or you can take shelter in God. So actually, it's a psychological need of everyone. Everyone is actually weak in this world, and if you take shelter in God, then you get actually the most substantial and the most powerful support that you can get in any other material shelter. Great, thank you. And then the last question. You believe in God, but we scientists have real knowledge. So, Harika and Sudhir, what will you answer on that?
So what I heard, maybe it is not my own realization, but what I heard is what the scientists usually reveal is mostly already pre-existing. That is not something that they created. It is only that they tell us this is how it works. For example, birth of a child, they will tell this is how it is working. It is not that they created the birth of the child. So similarly, when the Newton invented, this is also I heard, Newton invented a lot of law of gravity. So it was pre-existing. He did not invent it. He only told it is there.
Yeah, very good. Okay, excellent. So now we will see few of the answers of those questions. I mean, we were first discussing on that, and now we will see few more arguments, and maybe we can ask Bhakti and Yvonne if you can read.
Good arguments. There's no questions about something supreme. The matter is to find out what it is.
Okay, like was it? I think it was. Sorry, I'm not yet good with remembering the names. Judge Valya Prabhu was saying that it's clear when you see the nature, you can see something is supreme for sure. But the question is not to argue is there something supreme or not. The question is to find out what is this supreme. Next one, Ivan.
Nature is our mother. Nature is our mother, and God is our father.
Oh.
Everyone has a father going up to God. He is the origin of everything.
Sorry, there's a little typing mistake here. But yeah, I'm not sure how powerful this argument is, but our vision is that God is our father, nature is our mother, and everyone has a father, mother, he has a father, he has a mother, he has a father, and who is the first is come up to God, to the creator. Next one.
All scriptures confirm the existence of God.
Yeah, if you look in all the religions, they will speak about God, and they will confirm the existence of God. Next one.
Example of how the world is created so perfectly.
Yeah.
Banyan tree seed.
that we were touching also, that even in the small seed of a banyan tree, there is already another banyan tree, the potency of another banyan tree to grow. So it's just the amazement of how nature works. And I think that's the last. Yeah.
One can see or feel his presence. All these coming to him sincerely will confirm it.
Yeah, that's actually a very very good argument. Any people of faith will be totally sure that God exists because they have experience. They experiment it in their heart, this relationship with the Lord. So it's totally clear, and we can often in some argumentation or discussion, one can say if you don't try it, you will never know if God exists or not. But if you really make a try, like Prabhupada said in the Bhagavad Gita, even if you theoretically accept, that means the message of Bhagavad Gita, it's just theoretically, you say, okay, God is, Krishna is God, let's say what he will say. If I want, I can keep believing. If I want, I don't believe anymore. But for now, just theoretically, I will believe. So Prabhupada said, just that is enough. Just theoretically, just believe theoretically, and then it will be enough. And for everyone who is trying, then they will be convinced. So often the argument can be, if you never try, how will you know if if there is a God or not? Just try it out, and then you will see. Then you can decide if there is no one. But just try to serve him, try to do something for God, and then you will see. There is this experience of it was in a temple, and there was one volunteer who was not a spiritual person, who came and who wanted to do some service. So the devotee told this volunteer, please clean the temple room. And he told this volunteer, you need to do that in a meditation way. And your meditation, try it out. You say, dear God, that you exist or that you don't exist, I don't know. But now what I do, I just want to do it for you. He said, I suggest you this meditation, exist or not, no problem, but just do it for him. And so it was a lady. The lady did the service, and after sometimes the Prabhu who was telling her that came back to the temple room, and she was sitting on a chair and she was crying. So the devotee went to her and said, "What's up? Did someone speak bad to you, or chastise you, or what's going on?" And she cried and she said, "No, I'm just so moved. I did not even believe in God, but just by doing that for him, I could feel his presence, and he's just so kind. He's just I did just one small thing, and he manifested to me." So this is actually how powerful one can feel his presence just by trying. Just even by just theoretically believing, you can have a deep spiritual experience. And so try it out if that can be a good argument. Thank you. I can see Rahul Babu has maybe a question or comment on that.
Just to add, Prabhuji, I just want to share one experience, like, I mean, not experience, but yeah, when I was reading the book of The Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking, he nicely explained like how the universe was like kind of created from this Big Bang theory. Yeah. But then we reached to the point somewhere near the end of the book, and that one question remains, that how that one particle through which everything emanated, I mean, where that particle came from, where that energy came from. And then he says like that is something unanswered, because that is still an assumption. Yeah. And he says maybe there are different arguments, and at that point in time he gives a comment that maybe God exists. Yeah. He says like he doesn't believe in God maybe, but he says that that energy existed. Yeah, because that energy was created, the particle was created through which Big Bang was emanated. Because without that, if you remove that particular assumption out, then the whole Big Bang theory cannot be explained. So what I see is like sometimes scientists don't, I would say, actively say that, okay, that God created that, but in the back of their mind, they do know that this energy was there. So it's just that they cannot explain that who created that energy. That's the reason they just deny that, okay, the God existed. I think it's a matter of time, like probably people will start believing in that. I mean, because so many years we believed that the light is the fastest traveling particle in the world until somebody discovered the God's particle. Yeah. So.
And thank you. And I think, God is wanting us to approach him through faith. And therefore, there will be most probably never like a provable evidence that you can say, here is God, look at him. It will be for everyone. We will have to enter through this door of believing in him without really seeing him. And then the revelation come up. It's the way Krishna wants actually to reveal. He will reveal when we start with this step of faith. So it will never be actually provable or accessible in other ways by other people. Even though there are some things, I think with Jesus Christ, there's some analysis that shows that this body was touching here or there. There are also some, let's say, material proof. But ultimately, we have to approach God through this opening of our heart and into faith. And I know that Prabhupada was speaking often very intensely toward scientists, but I heard once that it was not that Prabhupada was like this with all scientists, but especially to those who were denying the existence of God and wanted to prove that God do not exist. So to those who Prabhupada was extremely cutting, and because he felt this is an attack to my Lord, that it cannot be, and they are actually illusion. They are putting the whole world in illusion with their stupid theory. So therefore he wanted to debate strongly to them. But there are also many scientists who, like you say, who understand, okay, there is something bigger. We just cannot explain everything, and they have some level of humility, and they leave it open and like this. So those one are not are quite all right. But Prabhupada was not against all the scientists, but especially toward those who were trying with science to deny the existence of God. So there Prabhupada was like a lion. So we will have the last slides for today. Maybe Dipali Mataji, you like to read this one?
Yes, Prabhuji. Srila Prabhupada, it does not matter whether or not we see the lawmaker behind the common laws. We must admit that there is a lawmaker. Matter can never work automatically without a living hand, and therefore we must admit the existence of God, the supreme living being behind the laws of nature. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So that was for today's presentation on faith and existence of God. We were looking how important that faith is, like the foundation, and it's something that we need to develop, to nourish, to make it grow as we go in our spiritual journey. We were touching on doubts that can be detrimental, that can be harmful for us, but can also be good if they are actually helping us to reason, to think deeper on things, and to not just accept everything blindly. Then we were, putting those two poles together by saying, okay, in the scriptures and sadhus and spiritual master, there we want to have the strong faith or the blind faith, but on the way we apply, that might differ, that might be different from one person to the other. There we want to reason and think deeply how it nicely applies for me. But what is on the realm of absolute, then we will accept it blindly when it's coming from sadhu and from authorized scriptures. And then we were seeing how to develop this faith, how to make it increase, how to nourish, and mainly association with devotees, praying, spiritual experience, and a few others were there. And then at the end, we had some discussion and arguments about existence of God and how to protect God, how to be a friend of God, protect Him when we might be discussing with people who are atheists and who are attacking God or speaking bad about God. Good. So if you don't have any further questions or comments, we will stop here. We'll stop a little bit earlier. But if you still have something in mind to be discussed on this topic or still some questions, we can discuss more. Good. Then let you take a break already now. I think students are always happy when the course ends earlier. So I hope you are pleased. And yeah, this course was not so difficult. I hope you got most of it. I will still upload the video of this course. Maybe for those who could not follow it, you can see the slides again in the recording. In case you have difficulty to answer the question, you will find everything in the slides quite easily. So I wish you a wonderful day and happy to be with you. Happy for your good participation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Very
Thanks
much.
for the wonderful session.